like the life standpoint, so I kind of like those books that have those different ways to look at it. And I'm interested to hear your guys' stuff, view on it. So. And also, this is kind of mythology, a Scandinavian background, so I know about the Norse mythology, and to read the stories about all the gods and such, and how they actually interpret the world and look at it and give guidance. And when I read some of the passages of the Gita, it seems, well, the story in general, everyone's kind of getting advice on how to live, I guess. Yeah, in a sense. So. Yeah. Oh, what's that? No, have you ever?
I have one. Oh, actually, no. This is actually just like temple decorations, but most of the time it's there.
Okay, well, I will come. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
You said? At what time is it? 6?
7:15.
7:15. Okay, so I'll be here tomorrow.
Nice to meet you.
After the event. The same.
Okay.
Oh yeah, no problem. Class.
You got your own Gita?
Yeah, I got it some time ago. Was it a bookstore or someone gave it to me or just been kicking around for a while, and I read it from time to time just for poetry or literature or inspiration. So I figured I'd come to the source and get a bit more connected with it.
That seems very scholarly and wise of you. Would you want to help me with this object?
I could. Hold on. Bhagavadgita.
See?
Actually. Rangi. What time we do kitchen?
We do kitchen. When I go to sleep, you do.
You sleep, I do.
My name's Ryan, by the way.
I'm sorry, Brian or Ryan?
Ryan.
Justin. Nice to meet you.
Zach.
Zach, good. Nice to meet you.
This your first time at the kitchen?
I may have come like a long time ago. I've been in and out of SanDiego for almost 10 years, so I'll probably come by. But not in the last 5 years at least.
You know about the program tomorrow?
I just by glimmering kind of thing. I heard there's going to be a big party and thousands of people.
Huge. Yeah.
That's our biggest festival of the year.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I try like this when it's more mellow, and then maybe come back when it's more crazy, and then and then like like the porridge, find it when it's just right.
Okay. Dumb, are we leaving the tent out?
Yes.
Really? Until the morning?
Thank you. Thanks, sir.
Actually, no, he doesn't.
He likes to stand.
Yeah, usually he does it that way.
So you're helping organize, or just you've done this before?
Yeah, the gentleman sitting outside.
On the side there.
Essentially, it might be a little fuzzy. Here's the mentality. So you're fine.
Usually, the initial,
Oh, the prayer or something for a start, or
right.
should I say it?
Oh, no, we'll leave it on so that the people who sing it can sing along afterwards.
Okay. Sounds good.
Nice to meet you, Justin, right?
Yeah, definitely. Nice to meet you, Ryan.
Right.
Are you joining the class as well, or you probably have lots of activities to get
I'd like
help?
to join the class, although I do have another couple more teaching.
Cool. All right. That's all. And, if I don't see you later on, or maybe I'll see you tomorrow or in the future.
That's cool.
Right. Do we have a class? Sure. Why not? Might as well. Welcome.
There'll be more, there'll be more. They trickle in.
Looks like you're busy.
I don't know. Is it a kids aren't? Or at least the kids on it. We had the last year on Darshans. We haven't been opening the curtains because we're making the arches. Okay. And we're also covering it.
I don't think this is on.
Before I do this body motion, I'm going to get to see you dance. I tried last night, but it wasn't good. Hare Krishna. Nope. Did you turn on the master power?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. How about pushing up the gains all the way? Ah, something. Hare Krishna. All right, we're good.
There you go.
Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Bhagavad Paramahansa Buddhacharya Ashtotar Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Buddhacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnava Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 14th day of August 2017 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are reading from chapter 7 entitled Knowledge of the Absolute, text number 16, page 324. Okay. Chaturbadha bhajante mam jana sukritanorjuna arto jigyasararthati Gyani cha bharatarshabha Chaturbadha bhajante mam jana sukritanorjuna Arto jigyasararthati Gyani cha bharatarshabha Chaturbadha bhajante mam Jana sukritanorjuna Arto jigyasararthati Gyani cha bharatarshabha. Okay, hold on a second. Hare Krishna, welcome. I'm afraid the deities will be closed for the rest of the evening because they're preparing something on the altar. You're welcome to stay for class, but there will not be another darshan tonight. They won't be open tonight, not tonight. We're preparing for tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Dharma Raj. And Chaturvidha bhajante mam Jana sukatanorjana Arto jigyasararthati Ganicha bharatarshava. Go ahead, Marcy. Chaturveda bhajante mam Jana sukatanorjana Arto jigyasararthati Gyani cha bharatarshabha. Chaturvidha, 4 kinds of bhajante render services, mam unto me, jana persons, sukritana, those who are pious, Arjun, O Arjun, artaha, the distressed, jigyasuhu, the inquisitive, arta, arti, one who desires material gain, Gyani, one who knows things as they are, cha, also, bharata rishabha, O great one amongst the descendants of Bharata. Hold on 1 second. Okay, hopefully. Translation. O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Purport. Unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called sukritinaha, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are, more or less, devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the Absolute Truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration. Time out. Can you make sure that door is closed? Close the door. Yeah, she's keeping it half open. In or out? Thank you. You're welcome. Please pull up a seat. We have plenty of seats here. Okay. Or you can sit here. Can you read? Sure. Then pull up a book. One with a book. There you go. Okay. Okay, we'll read that sentence again. Okay. We have some more books, I think, in the closet. You can have a seat. There you go. Do you want to be near your mama? Go ahead. Yeah, take the book and a seat. Give her a stand, the little one. Okay. Okay, now it's getting to be crowded in here.
Should we slide over a little bit? So
No, it's okay. That'll be all right. Let's make sure they got books. So many books. We should know that all these books are by the grace of Vidur. Yes, Vidur gave a whole case of books for this class. He knows who it is. Okay, we are on page 325 now. Near the top. 325. Okay. So, these 4, Krishna has mentioned 4 in the previous verse, classes of people who don't come to him. Now these 4 who do come to him, and they are those who are distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and one who's searching after the absolute knowledge of the Absolute Truth. And then on the top, near the top of 325, he says, these are not pure devotees because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.1.11 defines pure devotion thus: Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma janavratam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. One should render the transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these 4 kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, mentioned in text number 15, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with the pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become, in their distress, devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, the search for mundane knowledge, etc. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. And now we have to have another time out. Now, there will not be another darshan tonight. So just letting you know, you're welcome to stay for the class, but if I'm correct, you're going to keep the curtains are going to remain closed. And so the door needs to remain closed too. And we don't have a good door closer, so I had to monitor it until things quiet down. I'm sorry. Okay, so now we will resume. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. You can close that door. Yeah, no, you have to close the left one. You have to open the left one first. Yeah, that's right. It's not that hot tonight. Go manage. Quiet is more important. Hare Krishna. Okay. So, in this section of the 7th chapter, Krishna is describing 4 classes of people who don't come to him in the previous verse, and 4 classes who do. Now, the key word here is dushkritana versus sukritana. In the previous verse, which has a long, long purport, namam dushkritano mudha papudyante naradama mahiyapurita jnana asuram bhavamasha. These are the 4 who don't. And they're all in the category of dushkritana. Means that even if they have some good qualities, they may be very intelligent, very skilled, good talkers, beautiful body, whatever, they misuse that for selfish purposes. And they're sometimes out-and-out demons, asuram bhavamasha, the declared enemies of God. So these are condemned. But there are also pious people who, for one reason or another, these 4 are more or less material reasons, they come to Krishna. And because they come to Krishna, they're called sukritana, pious people. And by coming to Krishna and associating with devotees, they have a chance to purify their motivation. The definition of pure devotion is given here in this purport by our great Acharya, Srila Rupa Goswami, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma janavatam. And what this means is that real uttama bhakti, pure devotional service, must be untinged with any material motivation. The only motivation has to be to please Krishna, out of pure love. We don't come to Krishna for praying for wealth, for health, for anything else. We come simply out of desire to please him and to go back to Godhead, go back to the spiritual world, understanding fully that that requires total vairagya, detachment from things of this world. That's the standard that has been set by our acharyas, and indeed that was Lord Chaitanya's preaching. So, but it's also understood that we're not going to be in that state right away. But whether we want wealth, whether we want health, whether we want anything else, come to Krishna. Don't go to some other demigod. Don't go try to do it by manipulating the material energy. That'll simply keep you bound in the fields of birth and death. So understanding that Krishna is the source of all benedictions, we should come to him for anything. Because that contact with Krishna and Krishna's devotees itself will be purifying. That's the point. And we have so many great examples of this. The most graphic is the story of Dhruva Maharaj in the 4th canto. Now, near the beginning of the universe, or the previous Satya Yuga anyway, this was the first Manvantara, because his father was Uttanapada, who was the son of Swayambhuva Manu, who was the Manu of the very first Manvantara after the creation. So it goes way back, this story. And he had 2 wives. One was named Suruchi, one was named Suniti. Now you can tell a lot from the names. Suniti means very, very virtuous. And Suruchi means very, very attractive. So the king was more at this point favoring the more physically attractive wife. And Dhruva was the son of Suniti. And the other boy, who was a younger boy, was the son of Suruchi. So one day, King Uttanapada had Suruchi's son on his lap and was fondling him, as fathers like to do. And Dhruva wanted to climb on the lap and get some of the nectar. But Suruchi said, no, you can't go on the lap. You have to come back and take birth from my womb first. In other words, she wanted her son to be favored so he would get the kingdom and she would be in good shape. So Dhruva was stung as if I had been, kicked. And because he had the Kshatriya spirit. And even though he was a small boy of 5, he desired to remedy the situation. He didn't know what to do. So he went to his mother, his real mother. And she lived a little distance. She had her own little apartment. She wasn't in great favor. So he asked, mother, this happened to me. I've been disrespected and so forth. And so he said, what can I do? I'm not the favorite queen anymore. Only God can help you. So Dhruva wanted to know, where can I find him? So the simple lady said, we have heard that in the forest all the great sages go in search of God. So Dhruva starts trekking out to the forest. He's only 5 years old. But he has the determination of a Kshatriya. That's why he's known as Dhruva. Dhruva means fixed. So who would come by but Narada Muni. Narada Muni has a tendency to come at just the key moments to give perfect instruction. So first he tested Dhruva. He said, Dhruva told him what his mission was. He says, yes, you can practice this yoga, but it's very difficult. You're much too young now. Go home, and then later on I'll teach you all about yoga. So Dhruva said, I offer all my respects to you, O great sage, but if you can't help me, you're not willing to help me, I'm going into the forest anyway. My mother told me I'll find God there. So Narada, seeing Dhruva's determination, he gave him a practice of yoga, which he promised him would give him the result, but which was saturated with bhakti. The first thing he told him was, here's the mantra you should chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now that's a pure bhakti mantra. That's the 12-syllable mantra, offering obeisance to Vasudeva. The Bhagavatam begins with that mantra. So he basically, if he chants it, he's be chanting the holy name. Then he also taught him rudimentary deity worship. If you're in the forest, you can have rudimentary deity worship. By a stream, you can take the mud, make a little form, and worship that. It's perfectly okay. And then at the end of the day, it dissolves and make a new one the next day. So he's doing that deity worship, and in his heart, he's meditating on Vasudeva. And at the same time performing severe austerities. He's like the first month or so, he just ate the fruit that fell from the tree. The next month, he's not eating the fruit. He's just drinking the water. Next, he's drinking less water. Then he's just breathing, and then he's slowing down his breathing. And by the time he gets to the 5th or 6th month, the demigods could hardly breathe. He had entrained, because of his power, he had entrained the universal breathing. And so the demigods were having trouble breathing. He was only breathing once every day. So they go to Vishnu and said, please do something. We can't breathe. So he comes down on Garuda after 6 months. That's not very long for realizing God. And Vishnu appears on Garuda in front of Dhruva. You see? And Dhruva by this time is completely purified. He doesn't even care about the kingdom. And so he opens his eyes after meditation, and he sees the objects he's meditating on, Vishnu, in front of him, and he cries and he falls down and he offers obeisances. He's in ecstasy. So then the next thing to do in that situation would be to offer prayers. But he's only 5 years old. He doesn't have the Sanskrit background. And so he gets touched on the head with the conch by Vishnu. And suddenly he's very eloquent. And he's offered these beautiful prayers. Now, there's 2 of those prayers that I know. One of them is in the Bhagavatam, and one of them is in another book, another Purana, the most famous one. So the most famous one, he says like this. Stana bilashi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan devam anindra guyam kacham vichinvan abhidivya ratnam svaman katato smipadam vayache. Which means, desiring a position even greater than my father's, even greater than my great-grandfather's, who happens to be Lord Brahma. I was situated in severe austerity. Tapasi stitoham. But now I have gotten you. I have seen you. I've gotten darshan of you, my Lord. And who are hidden away from even the leading demigods. They can't see you all the time either. You know, only if you reveal yourself to them. So I realize now that that kingdom that I wanted was no more valuable than broken glass. Kacham vijinam. Because compared to the divine jewel of your revelation, your darshan. And so, my Lord Swamin, my dear master, I don't want anything else. Swamin krasmivadang nayache. I'm not desiring or begging anything else from you. Now the other prayer I know, which is because it's not that you don't want anything, you don't want anything material. So he has a request and he prays to the Lord in the Bhagavatam. Beautiful prayer. Bhakti mahopavahatam tvahime prasango bhuyadananda mahatam amalashayanam yenanjasobana maru vasanam bababhim neshe bhavad gunakatam atapanamapta. My dear Lord, here's my request. Please let me have the association of your pure devotees, in whose hearts the rapid and thick stream of nectar of your devotion is flowing. Because by their association, I will easily be able to cross over this ocean of birth and death, which is full of blazing fire-like dangers. Why? Because I'm becoming mad to hear the talks about you. That's where you'll hear genuine glorification of Krishna. So that's all he wants now, is the association of the Lord's pure devotees. That's a pure prayer. So what happened to Dhruva, he had an evolution of his aspiration. And that's what bhakti is all about. You have these Chaturvadabha Arto. This is a very common. The first one is why many people approach God, because they're in distress. People go to God because, now that can also bleed over into want for money. That's a big distress, not having enough money. Artarti. So or it can just be, fear, anxiety, whatever it may be. Fine. So you come to God, but it's important to realize it's not just to God in general, it's to Krishna. You come before Krishna so you can see his form, chant his name, come in association with deities. Otherwise, you can go to some general idea of God or a vague idea of God, and you'll retain your material desires. You won't be purified. Krishna himself in his form and name and everything, that's what the purification is. So here he says, they come to me. It's Krishna speaking on the battlefield himself. So the first one is the distressed. Then those who are curious. People walk in the door all the time and we're just curious. What's that Hare Krishna all about? I got this book. It doesn't make much sense to me, but it's interesting. They have an address, so let me go visit, or whatever. They met somebody on the street. So people are always coming, and that's good. They don't know any of the philosophy. They don't know what's going on. But they're curious to know, and it brings them into association. So that's auspicious. They're pious. Then another common cause, need for money, and Krishna will praise the last category, those who are truly in knowledge and really want to learn about Krishna. They know something, but they want to learn more. And this Krishna says, these are, you'll see in the next two verses, he praises them very highly. So most of us were in that category. I mean, I didn't know anything about anything, but I was curious about Krishna, so I came to the temple and I learned more. And then I graduated from being curious to wanting more knowledge. And that's an important step to take. So this is very scientific, and these are, we can easily see that these categories are the field which is, now maybe some of us have been fortunate from childhood we learned about this. Born into families where, yes, we should worship Krishna, we should go to the temple, these children are very fortunate. They didn't have to go through everything I had to go through in order to... look, she's looking at the Gita. How fortunate you are. So this is okay, any questions on this verse? Very important verse. All right, now we're going to hear about the Jnani, those who are really blessed and far along. Tesham Jnani Nitya Yukta Eka Bhakti Vishishyate Priyohi Jnani Notyartam Aham Sat Chamama Priyaha. Of these four, The one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. Purport. Free from all contaminations of material desires, the distressed, the inquisitive, the penniless, and the seeker after supreme knowledge can all become pure devotees. But out of them, he who is in knowledge of the absolute truth and free from all material desires becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. And of the four orders, the devotee who is in full knowledge and is at the same time engaged in devotional service is, the Lord says, the best. By searching after knowledge, one realizes that his self is different from his material body. And when further advanced, he comes to the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. When one is fully purified, he realizes that his constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of God. So by association with pure devotees, the inquisitive, the distressed, the seeker after material amelioration, and the man in knowledge all become themselves pure. But in the preparatory stage, the man who is in full knowledge of the Supreme Lord and at the same time executing devotional service is very dear to the Lord. He who is situated in pure knowledge of the transcendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so protected in devotional service that material contamination cannot touch him. So we've kind of segued away from those who are just approaching God to the one who's in real knowledge and a pure devotee. So the point here that's being made is that we need to acquire knowledge. Although bhakti is transcendental, is beyond knowledge, and really if you're engaged in devotional service, knowledge will develop. It's true that learning, this is why we have all these books, why Krishna has spoken the Bhagavad Gita, to purify our intelligence, so that, because on the basis of understanding, real understanding of who we are and who God is and what the relationship is, then we'll be more inspired to act. Otherwise it remains a big mystery. All of this is transcendental. It's beyond the ability for us to see or know with our present senses and mind. So there has to be that element of faith, and that can be instilled by hearing the words of the faithful, the purely faithful, which includes the pure devotee who's speaking here through the Bhagavad Gita. So that knowledge, that's described in many places, helps one to understand the activities of Krishna consciousness, which are against or contrary often to the pushings of the senses and the mind. The intelligence is where knowledge really resides. And if we strengthen the intelligence by hearing this knowledge, then we'll be able to guide the senses and the mind rather than have the mad mind and the senses dragging us here and there. And that's what's going on right now. So that's why the Jnani is really praised. And in 2 verses, text 19 is one of the key verses in the whole Bhagavad Gita, that after cultivating knowledge for many, many births, one who's truly in knowledge, what does he do? Surrenders unto Krishna. So let's read text 18. Maybe we can get to 19 also. Udarasa behevaite Jnani tvatma eva me matam Asita sahi yuktatma Mameva nutamang katim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Purport. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous, because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma, or great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord, because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit, and when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord, because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.468, the Lord says, Sadavo vadiham mayam sadhunam vadiyam tvaham madanyate najananti naham tebyo managapi. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything but beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many examples of pure devotees who underwent great trials and tribulations, or even had all their wealth taken away, and yet did not lose faith in the Lord. The perfect example, well-known example, of the Pandavas. They went through so much before finally it was resolved in the war that's about to take place. It's the Gita. But you know, it's a mystery. It was a mystery. You know, why it was that the Pandavas, the most dear devotees of Krishna, after all, he's on the chariot here of Arjuna, that they went through so much. And all the great devotees do that, even our own Srila Prabhupada. You know, he really went through a lot of tribulation to prosecute this movement. He didn't have to leave Vrindavan. You know, I mean, externally, he was impelled by the orders of his spiritual master and Lord Chaitanya's prediction and so forth. He had that mission. But many of his godbrothers, they never left India. They just set up their mats and they, you know, chant Hare Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada became so dear to Krishna by risking everything, including his life, to come to America. And poverty, he had nothing. He came to America with 12 rupees. Not even dollars. Yes, it's true. The rupee was worth 12.5 cents back in the 1970s, I remember. Now it's only worth a penny and a half or whatever. So what? It's still only $1.50. In other words, he had nothing. And so, you know, but he didn't approach Krishna for money. He didn't approach him for safety. He simply wanted to glorify Krishna for our benefit and to please Krishna and Lord Chaitanya, his spiritual master. That was his only motivation. That's the sine qua non of the pure devotee. Has no other motivation. And so we find Prahlad Maharaj, another example of one who underwent great austerities, right? And but was unflinching in his devotion, and he was even preaching to his demonic father. Now, after Lord Nrsingadev, you know the story. He killed Hiranyakashipu, you know, who represents, you know, all the demons. And so then Nrsingadev is there with his beloved Prahlad, and he offers him any benediction he wants. You know, whatever you want. You want a planet, you know, anything you want. So first thing that happens is Prahlad complains. He says, "My Lord, I'm not a vanik. I'm not a businessman. I'm not doing business with you. You know, I am simply satisfied just serving your lotus feet." But then he saw that Nrsingadev really wanted to give him a benediction. And that's also a service, you know, to allow someone to give you something because they really want to. This is what you know, Krishna does. He sees that he doesn't need anything, but he sees that it's a great benediction for the gopis, for instance, to allow them to serve him in an intimate way. Is it? In other words, he's giving them the opportunity to serve him. That's all they want, that he'll be pleased. And all he wants is that they'll be pleased. And therefore, there's not a tinge of lust in it. There's no tinge of material. That's the purity. That's the purity. So Prahlad, he saw, oh, he really wants to give me a benediction. Okay, here's the benediction. He says, Yada me dasi me Yadi dasasi me vadadarshaba. Kama. Yadi dasi me kamang vadam tang vadadarshaba. Kama anamridya sangroham bhavadas tu vanevaram. I may have the Sanskrit a little wrong, but I think the meaning is correct. And that is that if you want to give me, O Lord, a desirable benediction, then here's what I desire. That in my heart will never take root any material desire. That my desire will remain pure to serve you. That's the benediction. And then he asked another one. You know what it was? That his father would be delivered. That he wouldn't have to suffer for all the torment that he put Prahlad through. And his father agreed. Now his father, although he was a demon on the outside, he was a devotee on the inside, because he's really one of these intimate associates of Vishnu in Vaikuntha, Jaya and Vijay. So he came down, that was the first birth. And after 3 births, he went back to Godhead. So, but even so, and also Prahlad's descendants were all, even though they were born in demonic families, they turned out, especially Bali Maharaj, who was his grandson, turned out to be a great devotee. So but the idea is that on the devotee side, the sincere prayer is just let me serve you. I just want to serve you, birth after birth. Please bestow upon me pure prema bhakti. That's the greatest wealth in the entire universe and beyond the universe, is the pure love for Krishna, without any tinge of material desire. So that's what the real devotees, they pray for, and Lord Chaitanya has taught us that. Nadanang, nadanang, sundarim. No wealth. I don't want any wealth. I don't want any material thing at all. I don't even want liberation. I just want your pure service, birth after birth. That's the idea. So that we can come to that point. Even we may start out like Dhruva with a material desire, but if we are determined and we follow the instructions given by our superiors, then we'll come to the point of purity. And then you can see, here's the great prayer. This was uttered in relation to Ambarish, the one from the 9th canto quoted here, Sadhavo Hridayamayam. He's praising the sadhus, the pure devotees who are known as sadhus. And Durvasa Muni came all the way to Vaikuntha to pray to Vishnu that the chakra, which was burning him, was after him, that he would relieve, because he knew that Vishnu is his chakra. And Vishnu said, I can't do anything. I'm not independent. I'm under the control of my devotees. The devotees are my heart, and they're in my heart, I am in their hearts. And basically he said, if you really want relief, you have to go back down to Ambarish and pray to him for relief. And he did, and of course Ambarish said, please, the chakra, let him alone, and he was relieved. So this is a great lesson also, is that the Lord, out of his voluntarily places himself under the control of the devotee. Krishna is serving Arjuna here. He's his servant as a chariot driver. Right? He's in that position. Of course, when the critical moment comes, he takes the position of the guru. Right? That's different. But basically, he's agreed to be Arjuna's servant as the chariot driver. So this is very wonderful how the Supreme Personality of Godhead does that. Okay. Let's read 19, and then we'll pick that up next week, because we won't have a class tomorrow or the next day, Wednesday. But Monday, a week from today, we'll read this verse again, but we might as well read it because it's such a nice verse. Bahunam janmanamente Gyanavan man prapadyate Vasudeva sarvamiti Samahatma sudurlabaha. Okay, who is a Mahatma? This is one of the definitions in the Bhagavad Gita. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Purport. The living entity, while executing devotional service or transcendental rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life, and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders to him. At such a time, one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that he is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord, Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained in the 3rd chapter, verses 14 and 15, of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Sahasrashesha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Tyattishtad Dashangulam Purusha Evedam Sarvam Yadbhutam Yachat Bhavyam Uttamatas Vasyeshano Yananena Tirohati. Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, thousands of feet, entirely encompassing the whole universe. He still extends beyond it by 10 fingers of breadth. He is in fact this entire universe. He is all that was and all that will be. He is the Lord of immortality and of all that is nourished by food. In the Chandogya Upanishad 1:15, It is said, na vaivacho na chakshungsi na shrotrani na manang sitya chakshate prana it yevakshate prano ye vaitani sarvani bhavanti. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is life which is the center of all activities. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. In this body there are powers of speaking, of seeing, of hearing, of mental activities, etc. But these are not important if not related to the Supreme Lord. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. See the Bhagavad Gita 7:17 and 11:40. So you may recall that in the previous verses in this chapter, Krishna has delineated the material energies, his material energies. You know that one? Bhaktizak? Bhumarapo Analo Vayu? Okay. If we turn, text 5. Let's see what we got in text 5. Let's see if I guessed right. I think it's text 5. Text 4. Bhumar apo onalo vayu kang mano buddhareva cha ahankara iti yamme binna paktarashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether these 8 constitute my separated material energies. And altogether these 8 constitute everything that we're surrounded by here. You can't point to anything here, either gross or subtle, that's not one of these energies. Here's your earth, here's your air, there's your fire, right? With all the spaces here, and we all have mind. Do you have a mind? Of course. And you have very good intelligence too. And you have an ego. We all have an ego, a sense of... So all these are just simply the material energies. And they're all Krishna's. So that's what it means that Vasudeva is everything. He understands that Vasudeva is everything. He covers everything. But because we're trying to see things separate from God, that's our material disease, we don't see Him underneath everything. And that's why in this verse he also said, in the previous verse, which one is it? Mattak partarang nanyat. Text 7. Mattak partarang nanyat kinchadasti danandaya. There is no truth superior to me. Everything is strung on me like pearls are strung on a thread. Now listen, think of this analogy for a moment. Just visualize, everything that we see is being sustained somehow. And just like a pearl necklace, if it's a high quality necklace, you don't see the thread, you just see the pearls very nicely, right? But without that thread, it all scatters on the ground. There's no organization, right? So Krishna is the organizing intelligence behind everything. Everything is, Krishna is there. We know the super soul. He's in every atom. That's what it means to be Vishnu. Vishnu means all-pervading. That's one of the meanings of Vishnu. So all-pervading within our hearts, within the atoms, there's no place where God isn't. But we can't see Him because our vision is clouded by our false ego. So, but the one who is in wisdom, Bahunam Janmanamante, Gyanavan Mampapadyate, Vasudeva himself miti. He understands that Vasudeva, or Vishnu, is everything. And therefore he surrenders to Vasudeva. Me, Vasudeva is another name for Krishna. So if we really want to be in knowledge, then we'll prove it that we're in knowledge by surrendering to Krishna. Otherwise that knowledge can serve as a barrier to understanding, because there's all kinds of knowledge you can have. The impersonalists can also be very intelligent. And they can spin out so many arguments, and they can study the commentary of Shankaracharya and become completely convinced that the ultimate reality is not the person of God, but rather the impersonal absolute, what is called nirvishesh. Is it? So bhakti takes us beyond that. And we understand in knowledge. Krishna says in a few chapters, Brahmanohi pratishtaham, that this Brahman effulgence is resting on me. And is confirmed in the other Shastra like the Brahma Samhita. Yasya Prabhav, Govinda's effulgence is nothing, that's where the Brahman effulgence is. So that's the knowledge that we cultivate. And it's confirmed by practice. By practicing bhakti, the knowledge is confirmed. And Krishna reveals it from within the heart. Without coming to the point of practice, one can nurture the doubts about all this. Well, yes, this is one book of knowledge, but I read something, I just read another book, the Tibetan Book of the Dead. It has a different view. Maybe that's the truth, on and on. But the thing about Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is, that Prabhupada's absolute faith, as I was this first paragraph of the purport, when you realize, when you read it, if you get into the mood here, he's describing himself here. No one can write this, realizing he becomes attached to the Supreme. At such a time, he can understand that Krishna's mercy is everything, that he is the cause of all cause. This doesn't sound like someone speaking some theoretical thing. He's speaking about himself there. And so this is the great value of association with the pure devotees. Suddenly it becomes very real because you have a perfect example of embodying the philosophy. Otherwise, all of this is it's very, very mysterious, But this is how this Hare Krishna movement has grown, because Prabhupada's faith and realizations at the foundation of it, and he could instill that faith by which we can practice, have faith in the practice, and also begin to realize some of the same things. So that's why this is Bhagavad Gita as it is. All right, we're going to stop there with the Bhagavad Gita, but I'm going to read a little story from the Krishna book. After all, this is Janmashtami Eve. Now, where were we? You remember? I have several readings going on in different. Chapter 21. Thank you. Okay. This is a young mind with good memory. I completely forget. Okay. Righty. Bookmarks. Okay. There it is. Okay. So the next, so what's happening is that this is a daily affair. Krishna walks out into the forest with his friends and the cows, and all the gopis, they watch him from their windows, and they're feeling, their hearts are all aflutter because they're about to experience this separation. So as he goes, they start singing about him in the forest. These are one of the two main chapters of those songs. The other one is chapter 35. There's a lot of parallel there. So just to set the scene, I wrote a little poem encompassing the first two, verse 5 and 6, I think it is, of the chapter, the introduction. So it describes, it's after the rainy season now. This is autumn. This, the autumn, and this is Krishna is now going out and it's describing the very clear waters. They've been clarified by all that rain, So it says, Kusamit is the Sanskrit. Kusamit the Vanadadishashmibringa. What about the drum? Okay. Kusamit the Vanadadishashmibringa. Vijakula Gushtasa Daksarin Mahidram. That's one of the verses. There's another one. Vrindavan's rivers, lakes, and hills ring out with charming hums and trills as flocks of birds and maddened bees rejoice among the flowering trees. To those idyllic woods and glens repairs Govinda with his friends, Sri Rama and the cowherd boys, to taste the most exquisite joys. And as they walk along the way, absorbed in herding and in play, Sri Krishna, beauty absolute, begins to blow his mystic flute. With peacock plume upon his head, with peacock plume upon his hair, and fragrant flower on each ear, he enters Braja's woods with tread sublime, dancer without peer. His golden yellow raiment glows, his garland reaches to his knees, and from his lips the nectar flows and fills his flute with melodies. As Krishna thus begins his day with friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies the forest way with fine impressions of his feet. Samadhi culminates in this, to always see the scene of bliss within oneself and outside too. That may Krishna give this boon to you. So that sets the scene. Now, as he leaves the village into the forest, the gopis are singing. And one of the gopis says, we're in the middle of the chapter, "My dear friends, the cows are also charmed as soon as they hear the transcendental sound of the flute of Krishna. It sounds to them like the pouring of nectar, and they immediately spread or cock their long ears just to catch the liquid nectar of the flute sound. As for the calves, they are seen with the nipples of their mother's breast pressed in their mouths, but they can't suck the milk. They remain struck with devotion, stunned. And the tears glide down from their eyes, illustrating vividly how they are embracing Krishna heart to heart." Now it describes how they're taking Krishna in through their eyes and embracing him within their heart. The calves. Prabhupada says, these phenomena indicate that even the cows and the calves in Vrindavan knew how to cry for Krishna and embrace him heart to heart. Actually, very important sentence here. The perfection of Krishna consciousness can be culminated in the shedding of tears from the eyes. I have a little book. It's a japa training book. Learning the cry for Krishna or something. Crying for Krishna. Anyway. Another young gopi told her mother, my dear mother, actually they would address each other as mother also. My dear mother, the birds who are all looking at Krishna playing on his flute are sitting very attentively on the branches and twigs of different trees. From their features it appears that they have forgotten everything and are engaged only in hearing Krishna's flute. This proves that they are not ordinary birds. They are great sages and devotees, and just to hear Krishna's flute, they have appeared in Vrindavan forest as birds. Now, I don't know about you, but if a whole bunch of birds get into a tree, I remember I was in Brisbane, Australia one time, and they happened to have this temple that they had at the time on one side of a stream, and on the other side was this bird sanctuary. And every time we'd have class, a whole bunch of birds would fly over and nest in the trees on the property. And we'd be trying to chant the verses, and they'd be making this huge racket. And we'd make jokes, they're trying to chant the verse and everything. But when birds get together, they usually make a big racket. But these birds were very silent. They were just listening to that flute. And that proves that they were great sages. Great sages and scholars are interested in Vedic knowledge, but the essence of Vedic knowledge is stated in the Gita, Vedaischa sarvahameva Vedya. Through the knowledge of the Vedas, Krishna has to be understood. From the behavior of these birds, it appeared that they were great scholars in Vedic knowledge, and that they took to Krishna's transcendental vibration and rejected all branches of Vedic knowledge. It is said that Brahma was initiated into Vedic knowledge by the sound of Krishna's flute. And it's also said that that sound of Krishna's flute is present in this material world as the Hare Krishna mantra. And that's why when you chant and hear attentively, you become attracted to Krishna. Just like the gopis, they'd hear that flute and they become attracted to Krishna. Far out. Even the river Yamuna, being desirous of embracing the lotus feet of Krishna after hearing the transcendental vibration of his flute, broke her fierce waves to flow very nicely with lotus flowers in her hands, just to present flowers to Mukunda with deep feeling. The scorching heat of the autumn. Now, that's, these are cows and the ladies, but now he's going to describe the river. The river is described, and now the cloud is also conscious. The scorching heat of the autumn sunshine was sometimes intolerable. And therefore the clouds in the sky appeared in sympathy above Krishna and Balaram and their boyfriends while they engaged in blowing their flutes. The clouds served as a soothing umbrella over their heads just to make friendship with Krishna. So I know this verse in the 35th chapter is about that. Sahabalak sagabatang sebalasa sanashuchita badovraja devya harshayanya hivenu davena jarta harsha huvadambati vishram mahatatikkamana shankata cheta manda 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 garjita megha sudadamam vivashat subano vischaya vidatat patapatram. So the first part says, along with Balaram, Krishna and his friends, Krishna is playing. See, Sahabalak sagabatang, he's wearing a chaplet. A chaplet is a garland especially made for the hair, for the head. We don't have that so common. So he's wearing it, but a little askew, playfully. Sahabalak sragabatangsa vilasa. Sanashu Harshi, and now he's playing that flute, and he's very delighted in playing his flute, and he's causing great delight in everyone who hears him play the flute, the whole universe. Harshi jata ramba divishram. Then mahatatikam anashankata cheta. So the cloud is afraid of overstepping a great personality. In other words, Krishna is blowing that flute, and if he rumbles his usual thundering, he's going to drown out Krishna's flute. So he's afraid of that, because he knows. So instead he thunders very softly in accompaniment to Krishna's flute. See? Mahatati kamana shangata cheta, manda mandam, he's very gently. Manda 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 garjati. Sudadamam vivashat, and for his friend, Surit, he showers down little droplets of water, like almost like a mist, to create a little cooling for Krishna. You see, he's shading from the sun, and he's creating this idealism. So that's what's going on. Okay, let's see. Another gopi began to praise the unique position of Govardhan hill. Now this is very famous, especially here in New Govardhan. This verse we should all know. Hantaya mandana balahadi dasya varyo. Oh, this hill. Now the gopis are in such ecstasy that they're like with Krishna out there. And they say this hill, they're visualizing the hill as if it's right next to them. They're miles away, back in town, and Krishna is out, you know. But so it's a Hantayam, this hill. Wow, Hanta means, oh. Handaya Mandala Balahadidas is the best servant of Krishna. Let's read why. How fortunate is this Govardhan hill, for it is enjoying the association of Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are accustomed to walking upon it. Thus Govardhan is always in touch with the lotus feet of the Lord. And because Govardhan hill is so obliged to Lord Krishna and Balaram, it is supplying different kinds of fruits, roots, and herbs, as well as very pleasing crystal water from its lakes in presentation to the Lord. The best presentation offered by Govardhan, however, is newly grown grass for the cows and calves. This is gourmet grass. Govardhan hill knows how to please the Lord by pleasing his most beloved associates. This is a very good lesson. The cows and cowherd boys. Another gopi said, everything appears wonderful when Krishna and Balaram travel in the forest of Vrindavan, playing their flutes and making intimate friendship with all kinds of moving and non-moving living creatures. When Krishna and Balaram play on their transcendental flutes, the moving creatures become stunned and stop their activities, and the non-moving living creatures, like trees and plants, begin to shiver with ecstasy. These are the wonderful reactions to the vibration of the transcendental flutes of Krishna and Balaram. And Baladeva Vidyabhushan has written a very wonderful verse in this regard. He says, Vrajavipane vichitta vihago hadivena dabo yada babo vidishi vashakkatum vadumaka vibodho vidato vichittata pakati vipahayanta sadito gidiyasta yiho matastadha vajamahilas to bejad like ilachalata sadasi sumanjana. I taught this verse to Nityagora. I think he still knows it. When Krishna blows upon that flute in Vrindavan, the sound flies into the sky like a multicolored bird. I love that. And all of the demigods, leading demigods, such as Brahma and Shiva and Indra and Tumbaru, they're the most skilled in the art of music. Brahma created all the ragas, but they're puzzled. They cannot fathom the intricacies and wonderment of that flute. And so they bend down their heads and they become puzzled. And in Vrindavan, everything exchanges natures. The flowing rivers become stunned in ecstasy, they don't flow. And the trees and the hills, they start shivering and moving around, you know, out of ecstasy. And the gopis, they hear that flute sound and they get thrown into the river of anxiety to run out and meet Krishna. So there it is. And then one more little meditation. Krishna and Balaram carried binding ropes on their shoulders and in their hands. Occasionally we see they have those ropes. Just like ordinary cowherd boys, when milking the cows, the boys bound their hind legs with a small rope. This rope almost always hung from the shoulders of the boys, and it was not absent from the shoulders of Krishna and Balaram. In spite of their being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they played exactly like cowherd boys, and therefore everything became wonderful and attractive. While Krishna was engaged in tending the cows in the forest of Vrindavan or on Govardhan hill, the gopis in the village were always absorbed in thinking of him and discussing his different pastimes. This is the perfect example of Krishna consciousness, to somehow or other remain always engrossed in thoughts of Krishna. The vivid example is always present in the behavior of the gopis. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya declared that no one can worship the Supreme Lord by any method better than the method of the gopis. The gopis weren't born in very high Brahmin or Kshatriya families. They were born in families of Vaishyas, and not in big mercantile communities, but in the families of cowherd men. They were not very well educated, although they had heard all sorts of knowledge from the Brahmins, the authorities of Vedic knowledge. The gopis' only purpose was to remain always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 21st chapter of Krishna, the gopis attracted by the flute. And now, since there's no kirtan, I'm going to share with you a couple of more verses. This is a song from the Gopal Champu. I didn't put it in a poem yet, but the Sanskrit is so amazing that I thought I'd share it with you. And this is actually based on this chapter, I believe. So, the gopis are singing of Krishna and Balaram. They start the chapter, and in this song, they're both present. And they're describing the effect of their fragrance as they walk. If you remember. So this verse has especially attracted me to this song. And I happened to be in Alatra at the time, and they have the most exquisite Krishna Balaram deities you'll ever see. So, Mala Mala Padimala Vali Vali Rapadali Vali Dasadesham Alijang Kudinut Kola Halabaham Hola Kutu Helevation. So Mala Mala means garlands. So Krishna and Balaram are both wearing these exquisite Vaijayanti garlands which reach down to their knees, as we spoke of before. And they're composed of at least 5 different kinds of forest flowers and giving off this huge fragrance. Now they have automatically wonderful bodily fragrance already. And their mothers have applied on them, Rohini and Yashoda, have applied on their bodies more fragrances. There's something called voli, which I looked up in a dictionary. Just like we have, anyone who's attended an arti, especially Mangal arti, at the end they come around with a little Q-tip with some nice scented oil, which has been offered, right? So they don't use Q-tip back in 5,000 years ago. But they use something, and these lines of different fragrance on their body are called voli. So mala mala, palimala is fragrance. Palimala voli voli, vapur. On their bodies are different lines of fragrance. So now you have their natural fragrance, you have the garlands, and you have this extra fragrance. So naturally, what's going to be attracted? The bees, who are known as oli. So now you have palimala voli voli vapur oli. So wherever they are, there is a swarm of bees. But what are they doing? They're singing. They're buzzing, humming like bees do. But they're not just humming. They're chanting different shlokas and prayers and things. So Ali Jankuti Nuti, Kola Halabahabahalakatu Hilabation. That as they're very loudly and enthusiastically offering these beautiful prayers to Krishna and Balaram. And so the last verse goes of this song, and then I'll let you go. Sitam asitam vapadasitam pitam asanam yasati gitam tadidam yadigokalamanagokalamayatatagamatika. So they say sitam asitam vapur. So their forms are light and dark. Balaram has a whitish complexion, Krishna's is like a cloud. So that's sitam asitam vapur. Asitam pitam, and their dress is just the opposite. Balaram's dress is blue, and Krishna's dress is yellow. Pitam, yes? And these forms and the dresses are both sung. So they're Gita. Sitam asitam pitam vasanam yasya Gitam. They're sung and glorified. And they tadidam yati gokulam and gokulam. Now Gokula has 2 meanings. One is, of course, the place in Vrindavan where the cows are. But Gokula also means a herd of cows. So now they're saying, now if they come, the gopis are saying, if they would just come back and herding those cows into Gokula, the Gokula into Gokula, then all of our sufferings will cease. Agag also means sufferings, and we will transcend all our sufferings. So that's this song. Put in the most beautiful way by our great Acharya, Jiva Goswami. Okay, so we can go to sleep dreaming of Krishna, come back tomorrow for Janmashtami. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. We might have a little prashad if you want to wait. Thank you for sitting through the whole time. There's no promise of darshan at the end. And it's a sign that my right foot is full. I'm afraid it's putting the weight on. My collapse. I don't feel like it. I don't know if I can walk, but I can. Prabhu? Try not to keep the wall too low to the. Oh, yeah. You do that tomorrow?
might be pretty busy, right? So.
Well, evenings actually from 5 to 12.
Well, that's what I understood. So
Yeah.
I might come by.
What do you think the problem
Yeah.
is, right?
Oh, it'll be very busy.
Yeah.
It'll be exciting. Yeah, it'll be like what's your name?
Justin.
Justin.
Jason. Dravida, very nice to meet you. Thanks for the knowledge. Nice to get a different perspective.
Wait, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know what schedule. We have classes.
Yeah. I'll probably try to come by next week.
But don't go anywhere because you might have some questions on it.
Oh, gracious. Stack those on yours, or there you go. See if you can break it back.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Is that? First semester. No, I came like just at the beginning from the first day.
Seem to enjoy the lessons.
Yeah, very.
You familiar with it? You seem to know a lot about what's going on.
For that, good. Not really. What's that one? No, Darshan. Tomorrow.
They told us there's a date 15 to 18.
Yeah, usually this tomorrow.
Then old base. Yeah, I can just leave the.
Yeah, use it. Zach. So what time are you going to start tomorrow? Tomorrow, 5:30. 5:30. Morning? No, in the evening. Yeah, that's one thing I was. Even here. When they are leaving.
It won't open tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow. It's all about. Yeah. Close. Yeah. No, now it's closed. Yeah. Tomorrow, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Yeah.
No, the curtain will be open.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is. Usual. On the internet, at least say Monday. Yeah. So Monday, I don't know.
Oh, Jay.
Young boy, yeah?
No, old man. I have very old knees. My knees are 60 years old. That means my brain is 100 years old. See? Shamashmi already.
Sure.
Is it okay? Zachary! Zach! No, there it is. And we got spoons. Okay. So everyone can take a little bit. Because it's prasad. And children, they get a little sweet. How many children? We got a lot of children. We got one sweet and a lot of children. Yeah. How about some milk? Is it okay? You're next. I'm sorry. Yeah, now I. Definitely. How about a little milk? So you go to a lot with your night? Have you visited? No, Jackson, is come on? Electra. Well, Jacksonville is a bit of a drive from Electra, but it's near Gainesville. Oh. That's the largest community of the world. It's like 7 so many flowers are able to grow. Yeah.
It's like magnet.
Right? You want some milk? Okay? You good?